Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're tuning in to the Goldilocks presentation of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with Anthony Rodriguez. Anthony Rodriguez, aka Walking Crow, found transformational energy healing through a personal search into healing and was transformed by this experience. He made the decision to pursue training and has since become a certified energy healing practitioner with an emphasis on working with clients in recovery from addiction. His willingness to be open and listen has allowed him to be of service to many who seek a peaceful, serene, and healthier body, mind, and spirit. Call in now if you would like to speak with Anthony. The call-in number is 713-955-0332. Enjoy this transformational and healing show.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. My name's Anthony Rodriguez and I'm your confused host. Oh, Walking Crow. I hope everybody's doing well. I don't know what's going on with me the last couple of weeks, but I've been fumbling as I come into the show. And oh well, that's just the way that goes sometimes. I'm not going to worry about it. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to a non-Mercury retrograde Tuesday. I hope you're ready to move forward and be catapulted into the fourth dimension of your life and your new existence and the abundance of the harvest moon, the whole harvest moon that's tonight. It's either tonight or tomorrow. And I'm really excited for everybody and where everybody's lives are going if you have actually been moving in that direction. I'm really excited about today's show. I'm really, really excited. Today I'm going to have Ingrid Turner on. She's a friend of mine. She's a spiritual medium. She's a spiritual coach, a diviner. And boy, I'm excited. I was Ingrid's original guest on her inaugural show and was off the air a couple of minutes. And I was having a conversation with Tiffany White, Sage Woman, our producer, about having a show of my own as well. And I've been doing this for a year now, and I really, really love it and enjoy it. But before I go any further, I want to take a minute and I want to ask Creator to fall on me and to cover me in His light and cover me in His spirit. I hope that my ancestors and my spirit guides and my spirit animals would be here with me and be in the studio here with me. I hope and that we would reach out across the airwaves and that we would be clear of any negative and unwanted energies that are here right now with regard to Ingrid and the producers and all listening, and even those who aren't listening, but just remove everything from us and from me that is unnecessary and doesn't need to be here right now, and that we would be filled with light, filled with love, and filled with joy, and just a loving joy and light. I hope. So, wow, I'm excited because this is a busy week. I'm coming out of this Mercury retrograde with a lot of events. I had Ingrid today. And then on Thursday, I'm doing a Facebook Live with Diane Bohan. And we're going to have an amazing time. That's going to be a great event to check into. If you haven't checked out any of my Facebook Live videos, I do a lot of them. And I'm always working towards something. And I'm excited to be able to have Diane on. Thursday, we're going to be together, and we're going to be talking about, we're going to have a conversation on deepening your self-love beyond emotional eating. And it isn't just beyond emotional eating. It's about those who are hoarders, those who are using drugs or alcohol or anger or whatever that thing may be that's your nemesis. Self-love is an important thing, and self-care, and this is something that I teach and talk about all the time, because I've had to learn how to self-care and self-love myself through a lot of hardship and a lot of hard times and a lot of lifetime stuff. So, join us on Thursday at 11 a.m. on Facebook Live, and it's going to be an exciting hour. Also, This Side of Consciousness on September 10th at 11 a.m. in National City in San Diego. That's going to be an exciting event. I'm looking forward to being down in the San Diego County area. And those who are in the surrounding areas, please come on down and enjoy this event. This Side of Consciousness is $25, and you can find that event on my Facebook page as well. And then, as usual, every other Tuesday is Men in Self-Care. It's my miscellaneous group. It's a bilingual group, and we meet over at 236 West Mountain Street, Suite 115 in Pasadena, 91103. That's on September 12th at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And that's just an amazing group. And so I have other events, but I'm not going to waste too much time on that, because what I really want to talk about, what I really want to get to is Ingrid Turner, and this wonderful woman who she was a coworker of mine at a place that I worked at in Hollywood. And it was at times a difficult place to work. And Ingrid and I would take these long walks through the neighborhood, and we would share things with each other that we couldn't probably share with other people, because there's things about us that nobody else knows and nobody needs to know, but we knew, So we became friends in that way, and we struck up a friendship. And we had been in that business for quite a few years, I think, her and I, in different ways. So I want to read her bio. Ingrid Turner is a spiritual medium, spiritual coach, and diviner. She connects with loved ones, spirit guides, spirit energies, and the higher self to help her clients heal, connect with their authentic spiritual path, and live in the power. Living in the power. She also runs coaching programs for individuals and groups where she helps outside-the-box seekers connect to spirit directly and build their own spiritual structures. That, in a nutshell, is a lot of work. And boy, I'm really respectful of that bio, because my bio is kind of similar. And I'd like to bring Ingrid on right now. And Ingrid, are you there? Are you with us already?
Hi, Anthony. I'm here. Thank you so much for having me on, and such kind words. I so appreciate you.
Hello, lovely lady. Welcome. Thank you very much. I so appreciate you as well. I get emotional thinking about it. Sorry. Well, welcome to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show. And I've already said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be talking to you right now on this show. And I'm so thankful and honored for your friendship and the honor of being on your inaugural show, a year ago. It has been an amazing time. That right there was an amazing show, right? I remember that show very clearly, being the first one and you being on it. I was so happy because I went back and forth between trying to be on that show, and it was just so easy. Okay, there he is. That works. So it was perfect, as always. And I was reminiscing, going down memory lane when you were describing our work together in Hollywood in the corporate world, and those walks we would take away from that tiny little stuffed ourselves in, and the conversations we would have, and how powerful that was, and what a relief that was at the time for me to have kind of a lifeline. Right. It's always nice to have a sounding board when nobody knows what you're trying to say.
Yes.
And
that was well before I really understood myself like I do now and the work that I do. And I just come into the healing space there. And you were so instrumental in that every day, because I had just gotten sober. I hadn't even really tapped into my gifts yet. I was just crawling out of the hell that we can create for ourselves on earth. And you were a pivotal piece of that at the time. You really were.
I'm glad to be able to be that. I hope. So tell us about that time when you were coming into your gifts. I mean, coming into sobriety is hard enough, but coming into And I personally think that the abuse of, I don't know if I want to say abuse, or the use of alcohol and drugs and food or hoarding or different things, you know, I think sometimes that's obviously self-medicating, but I think our spirit already knows where we're supposed to be, and I think for me, for a lifetime, I just didn't understand who I was and what I was, and I don't know if that's the case for you, but how was it for you coming into the gifts of your walk right now? Because I remember being at your apartment and seeing a set of tarot cards on the table, and I didn't say anything. I noticed it and I didn't say a word. You know,
and
just
like stupid. Yeah.
And we went wherever we were going.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, I'll just take you back a little further. I mean, when I was a kid, I was way open, and I was seeing beings all the time. I saw them primarily in my mind's eye, so I chalked it up to imagination. But I was so wide open, and I was always out in the woods exploring and just off in my own little world. And my parents, God bless them, they meant no harm whatsoever. They were just being funny. But they would say things like, Ingrid is so out to lunch, because I was so not in the world. I was way far out there in mysticism from a really young age. I mean, I would take off in the woods for hours, Anthony. We lived on this idyllic piece of property on 60 acres out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, because my parents were very alternative, you know, so I had a really good upbringing for this. And yet still, I managed to get the message that the way I wasn't the right way to be. You know, I don't know, that's just a human condition, isn't it? We're all born into an environment that where we stuff ourselves into a tiny little box that we don't fit in. And our life journey is to then bust out of that box. So I stuffed myself right in the box. When I heard things like Ingrid's really out to lunch and, you know, she's not with it, and then I would be like, oh, that's not the right way to be. So I worked very, very, very hard to make myself practical and grounded and hardworking. And I grew up seeing the women in my family be the primary breadwinners. So that's what I did. You know, I supported my first husband. I supported my child after he was out of the picture. You know, I was a solo mom. I was a busy professional woman, and I just had my whole identity wrapped up in that. You know, my whole ego identity was this busy professional single mother, working in technology, doing marketing, you know, getting out there and succeeding in the world. And it broke me, is what it did, because I stuffed these gifts, this connection to divine spirit, I stuffed it so deep inside me. Now, you recall seeing tarot cards on my table, right? So I never really, I always played, you know, with tarot cards. I was very interested in astrology and mysticism, but I never for a minute thought that I could do anything like that could be me. So I'm so grateful. I'm actually grateful for the alcohol that came into my life because it broke me open, is what it did. And I needed it. You know, like I felt like I would come home at the end of the day and just be so gummed up and balled up and have a glass of wine. And if you're having a glass of wine in the evening to unwind, I think that's okay. But anybody who's got a wide opening to spirit like I do or like you do, Anthony, addiction is just where we go, because we're trying to fill that big opening spirit with alcohol or overeating or drugs or whatever flavor of addiction, you know, that we hook onto. We just don't moderate well. So that's what happened to me. And I was in a brutal relationship because we don't make good decisions when we're drinking too much. I was blacking out every night in my apartment. I was calling people, not remembering conversations. It was not good. And one day I woke up and I sort of recalled a thing or two. And this person who I'd been in a relationship with, it was drinking so heavily at night. And I would call him or he would call me. And I'd have these conversations with him, and I would say things to him. And the next day he would say, well, you said this to me. I said, I didn't say that. I never said that. And I was so convincing that he started to think he was crazy. I was totally saying it, you know, and that's so I woke up one morning kind of remembering what happened, and it hit me. It all came down to me like a ton of bricks. It was like, oh my God, this is not good. This is not good at all. So again, that man who came into my life, he was one of the one of the soulmates who destroy you. We had a really difficult relationship. We actually got married, which was crazy. We never lived together or anything. We knew each other 4 months and got married. It was crazy. And, it was the most challenging relationship I've ever had. And I only 2 or 3 years later, can come to that and say, what a gift that man was in my life. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with him in a sweeter way in different lifetimes.
Wow.
Somewhere else, So he was the one that really. Sorry.
I'd like to remind the listeners that you're listening to the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine Show with your host Anthony Rodriguez Walking Crow, and our special guest today is Ingrid Turner. And you can call in and ask Ingrid questions or speak to us at 713-955-0332. I apologize for interrupting you there, but I wanted to get that in because I would love folks to call in and ask you questions, whatever they would like to ask. But so I don't know if I remember, you and I were walking down the street one day, and you were telling me about, I think you were dating somebody, or maybe this is the same person you were talking about, and he was a medium or he was a psychic.
Oh yeah, he was so cool.
And you were telling me that he was, you were having these conversations. I think you said he was getting like upset with you, or you were irritating him. And I looked at you and I said, well, yeah, he's upset with you. He's irritated by you because you're the medium. You're the, and you kind of looked at me like, what? Because
I remember that conversation.
I could see that in you. I could hear that in you. And it's something that I really sensed from you. But you just, I don't think you were quite sure how to navigate that. And by the way, you talked about spirit, and I always say spirit's in, spirit out. But it doesn't, I really believe that spirits or drugs or any of the stuff that we do actually stir that stuff up. It really stirs it up, and we wrestle with it, I think, sometimes, and we just don't know how to wrestle or how to be with it, how to let it win in our lives, how to be in our life, It's scary.
Yeah, it is. And, when we had that conversation, when you looked at me and you said that, and I looked at you like you were maybe crazy, I was pretty sure, because like I said, I never considered myself to be that. I had no sight about what I was, what I was here to do. And that's how deeply we can stuff our gifts. And that's one of the ways that I'd love to work with people is because now, like you, I can now identify what people are able to do, but they are not always able to identify that in themselves. So it's so fun to work with people, connect with people, and watch them start to reveal their gifts to themselves. You sit on the sidelines and go, yeah, this is it. Watch them shine. And, right around that same time, my dear friend said, and I don't remember if it was before you said that or shortly after you said that, she said the same thing to me. She says, no, Ingrid, you have these gifts. And I went, you guys are crazy. I got nothing. But absolutely. Yeah. And so right in that time, and that was pretty shortly after I got sober. It wasn't until I was sober a year that I really cracked open and came into my gifts. And like you say, Anthony, having that kind of stuff, that the drugs and alcohol in your system and abusing it like that or overdoing it like that with no guidance, with nothing just pouring it in, that stuff has to leave your system. And I feel like it really did take a year for that energy to leave my system before I could look around and go, okay, something else. There's something deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, deeper. Wow. I'm still amazed. And I talked about, I think in the intro, talked about being catapulted into the fourth dimension with regard to the full moon, the harvest moon, and the abundance of autumn and this sort of thing. But I really feel like you and I have been, and I think it happens over and over. We get catapulted into the fourth dimension of the fourth dimension of the fourth dimension of the fourth dimension, like every night, almost every 90 days or so. It's just an amazing journey.
That's amazing that you say that, because that really resonates with something. I was doing the sun salutation earlier, and just doing my little ritual there. And as I had my hands in the namaste position, and I was just closing my eyes and breathing, I got this image, this like universe within the dust, within the dust, within the dust, within the dust. It's just like the universe in every speck of dust, and what you just said about being catapulted into the fourth dimension over and over and over again. And it made me reflect, and I actually posted this on Facebook, it made me reflect on this William Blake this piece of a William Blake poem. It goes, to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. This is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I just get excited. I
do too.
I can't contain myself sometimes, and I don't know who to talk to about it sometimes, because it's just like, and I have to tell you, there's another component to this, and as I talked to somebody about this the other day. In fact, the Jeff Starwood, Ravenwood, the other day, I said, people like you and I, people like us, we spend a lot of time alone, isolated sometimes,
yes.
and it feels
yes.
sometimes it feels lousy, but it's our calling, it's who we are, it's what we're doing. And there are moments where I want to scream out for somebody like to hug me or talk to me on the phone or something, And it's like where do you go? Because not everybody understands, Not everybody understands. I have to seek out particular people to talk to because I'm not crazy.
Absolutely. And that's so funny because we're so on the same wavelength, Anthony. I was just talking to one of my clients about that the other day, who is in his own right an incredible healer himself. And we were talking about that loneliness that can creep in because there is so much time spent in solitude and so much going on in the inner world. And we really live lives of isolation. And that's because it's the solitude of leadership. In our own way, we're all stepping up in our own little universe, and leading the way for whoever is connecting with us. And that's why there are so many of us popping up, because we're all here to connect with different people. It's like who's going to connect with me might not necessarily connect with you, and who's going to connect with you might not necessarily connect with me. And that's okay. But that means that each one of us is unique in a unique leadership position. So even when we are able to reach out and connect with each other, sometimes even that won't do it because we're so each of us is working so uniquely for a particular subsect of the population, of the world at large. So yes, it can be loneliness can nip at your heels. It really can.
Yeah. 713-955-0322 is the call-in number. Give us a call, and if you have a question or if you I'm not going to obligate Ingrid to do any readings or anything, but you know how people can be. They'll ask. But, ask her if there's any questions you want to ask her, if there's any other information that you'd like to know, please give us a call. We'd like to hear from you. So the coming out of retrograde, I talk about Chicken Little turning to, and I'm going to say it, Chicken Little turning to chicken shit. People run around like they're insane. And they like to blame the retrograde and the eclipse and this moon and that thing and the other thing. And I have to tell you, the people that I've been around, that I've spoken to, those light workers, I keep an eye on. There's a lot of us who have really kept our heads over the last 6 months. And I'm going to say 6 months because it's been a real tough 6 months.
Yeah.
And no matter what has happened, I've watched people keep their cool and walk through what they walked through. Now here we are at the precipice of autumn, the time of abundance, the time of gratitude, moving into the Day of the Dead and Halloween and All Saints Day and Thanksgiving and all these things. This time of abundance. This really is a time of harvest and abundance. And here we are within the full moon today or tomorrow. And how has that been for you walking the path with all these crazy energies? And and I got to tell you, you're another example for me of how that is done. I watch and listen to what people are doing insane, and it's like they're doing insane, but they're not insane. They're sober and sane in their spirit, and I love watching that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm continue to be impressed with how people handle it. For me, since the end of July to now has been some of the most intense It's been so intense. I have felt the lunar eclipse energies and the solar eclipse, and we had, new moon stuff. I mean, the energies are. I love what you were saying about like the tendency to blame Mercury retrograde or the new moon or whatever it is. The thing is, it's the skies are simply an energetic indicator. They, as spiritual energies, are just an indicator. How we work with them is totally up to us, and how we connect and how those energies, quote, affect us, unquote, has everything to do with the work that we've already done. So what's happened with me is, boy, this since the end of July through now, I've had a lot of stuff come up, and I've tried to be, it has really been pointed out to me where my work is, where I have not been at my best. And I have reacted in some, I've overreacted, I've underreacted, I've cried, I've screamed, I've laughed, I've gone through the whole gamut of emotions. And I even had an absolute fit in a Facebook post a couple of weeks ago about racism and intolerance. And it was such an interesting experience because, I consider myself a very tolerant person. I consider myself a very, really trying to meet people where they're at and not judge people where they are at on their journeys. But, I had a run-in with somebody who was just being blatantly racist and intolerant, and I just absolutely lost it, Anthony. And that was really interesting for me on a whole lot of levels. First of all, it was really interesting for me to see my own intolerance come up, not against what she's intolerant about or what other people are intolerant about, but what I am intolerant about. And at the same time, it was one of the bravest things that I ever did, because I stood up and I spoke about where I have been with this sort of thing, and where I've come from and what I thought about it. It really put something really kind of intense out there. And then the other thing that was really, and I'm going to tie this back into the solitude we were just talking about, the other thing that was really brought up a lot of stuff for me is, while I got a lot of support and comments, from a lot of people, a lot of tribes, the deafening silence was from the people who I love, not the people who I grew up with, the family, and it was really that whole experience right there. That was like the crest of this energetic. Oh my God! But it's been amazing, and I feel like I've come through this. It's been really difficult, and I'm coming through it with a whole new way of processing it. That's where it's come from with me. It's like a new way of processing the when things are difficult, when our stuff is shown to us. And I think that's that we can ask for, because we don't get to have we're not here to have an easy breezy life. Most of us, certainly not if you're out there trying to bring light to the world.
but I'm going to tell you, I'm a very forgiving person. I don't pay attention. I know people are going to be who they are and say what they say. So I kind of like stand back and, shame on you, shame on your whatever you're saying, but not you, them. But, it's like, because I say vibrate out, don't vibrate in. I don't drink poison. I am not going to drink that. And that's what I really want for myself. But at the same time, when I put my foot in my mouth, or when I behave like Anthony, I always say, I know that and people have called me out, well, you're a healer, you're supposed to. Who's supposed to? Hi, human.
I know, right? Hi, human.
That's something I learned from my sponsor. Hi, human. I'm like, wow, and it's so true. It's like, why is it that you can and I can't? Just because I'm a healer doesn't mean that I'm perfect of being and I'm above anything. It just means that I'm aware and I'm conscious, and I think I do have more responsibility, just like a priest or a minister or a rabbi or a cleric. I have a responsibility, and more so than most people, because of the message that I carry.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
important.
And I think the most important responsibility that we have, Anthony, is transparency about our humanity. About sometimes polarization between our humanity and the divinity that we work so hard to express and to live in our daily lives. And we're gonna screw it up. We just are.
Yeah.
And our responsibility is not to not screw up. Our responsibility is to be transparent and say, wow, blew it. Okay. Let's eat a little humble pie and stand up and keep moving forward.
Humble pie a la mode.
Yep.
make it good. Make it count.
Absolutely.
So tell me, tell me about what this time of year is looking for you, coming out of all that madness of those crazy energies and coming into a more stable time, a more abundant time, a more manifesting time for Ingrid Turner. What does that look like for you? What does it sound like? And and I'm sure that your listeners would like to hear as much as I want to hear. My listeners want to hear. What is that like for you?
Coming out of that crazy energy, I mean, I'm looking, I feel more, what I feel is more, and thank you so much for asking this question, because I hadn't really thought about it. So this is really nice to be kind of processing this for you, with you. I have come out of some really difficult emotional period that felt like it damn near broke me. And I'm coming out of it strong. I have a strong core, so I am under no illusion that it gets to be easy street from here on out. I know there's going to be ups and downs and there will be more transformations, but something has shifted inside me. And I feel like this is true for a lot of people who have been really working with these energies over the last couple of months, rather than just kind of letting themselves be batted around by them. There's a stronger core that we have, and there's a more intense mission to line up with who we are authentically and what our mission is, what we are here to express, and how we're going to decide to go about expressing that. So for me, I feel an incredible resolve about certain things in my life. For example, we're talking about abundance. I feel a resolve around money. We light workers and healers and seers and teachers tend to have a really difficult time with money. And here's why, Anthony, because our DNA tells us that, thousands of years ago, we were taken care of by our village. They just gave us stuff. We didn't have to think about that because we were to be focused on communication and connection with the divine. Well, guess what? We don't have that anymore. So we have to figure out how to weave that into our spirituality. And that's all it is not making it something other than or something separate, but to weave it into our spirits, to weave it into our spirituality and weave it into our message and weave it into our work. And that's something that I've gotten really firm about. It's like, I can't help anybody to the fullest extent unless I am being provided for, unless I'm comfortably abundant. And I wish that for every single person who I come into contact with, every single person, everyone. And I think it's really important that we all have that, and we let ourselves have that, Anthony. We really, all of us need to let ourselves have that and stop clubbing each other with the ego club. You know what I mean? That's what the spiritual community loves to do, especially when it comes to business and money, or God forbid, money disagreements. It's like, here, I'm going to club you with the ego club. You have an ego. No, I need to eat and feed my child. Okay. So that's something that I've gotten really clear on. I've gotten really clear on some things in my relationships with my people who I love, with my family and my partnership and my child. And it's just really it's a very strong grounding. More than a clarity, it's a very strong grounding, if that makes sense. And I would like to know, what about you, Anthony? Tell me what you're coming into this harvest moon with, this new energetic era. And how did it go for you? Can you talk about it? Do you mind?
Well, what's interesting? I just last week I was working for a friend of mine, and she gave me some steer horns that are like 5 feet long, and some other ones. And I just realized that I'm coming through. I'm going through a shedding, and that's what I've been doing over the last couple of years. Really shedding the old me, shedding the horns, shedding the molting, letting go of my feathers, all those things. And I have to tell you, it is tough, but you know what? And I'll say this: financial. Every time I turn around, something else is falling away, and that I've depended on, and I have to say okay. And this has happened over and over in the last month or so. And I have a friend of mine, Candace Rebollo, who is an amazing channeler. She's amazing. She kind of, I sent her a message about it. She started laughing at me, and I got pissed because you know, it's like, because it hurts. And she, you know, she was, I get why she was laughing. And I had to laugh at myself too, you know, and I had to honor that. And, you know, I know that I'm coming into my time. And what's happening right now is I had to let go of a marriage. And this, I get really personal. I don't know if you've ever, you know, I get really personal about this stuff. And I don't name names, but I try not to. But I had to let go of that marriage because that marriage was a block to where I was going. Because I wanted to be supported. And if somebody's not supporting me and who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm trying to go, then they have really no use in my life, wife or otherwise. You know, I want to be supported by like light souls, like light people, like light beings who will say, you know what, Anthony's moving forward. You know, I need to encourage him, or like I encourage my circles. I want to be able to be there for people. I have a lot of young shamans. Well, they call themselves shamans. You know, anyways, the young people who call me and say, Anthony, can you like mentor me? I need to talk to somebody, and I say yes. And that's another thing. I say yes. I don't ask questions. I say yes because yes is necessary for me because I was always busy saying no to things, and I didn't know how to just say yes. I always had I give a backstory of some sort, and you know what? The hell with that. Just step into, say yes, Anthony, and go for it. You know. But I see my abundance coming down the road, and I have a lot of events that are coming, and people are starting to find me again because when my ex-partner and I got back together last October, everything, and I mean everything, went away. All the clients, all the workshops, everything that I was doing just fell away, and I was ready to throw in the towel. But I knew because I had already seen a medium who had said to me, you cannot quit. They're telling you can't quit. You need to like not quit. You need to keep going. So this is what I did. I moved forward in my work, whether I'm being paid or not. I carry the message and I carry the medicine. And I know that my abundance will come regardless of what it looks like. You know, it's not always in dollars and cents. Sometimes it's in love. Sometimes it's in encouragement. Sometimes it's in the morning sun. The sun's come up again. I've taken my breath this morning for the first time that I'm noticing it. And thank you, Creator, Great Spirit. You know, I have to be grateful for the small things. And because I'm Crow medicine, I know that magic happens, that alchemy happens, that the shape-shifting happens because it happens, not because I happen.
Right.
Not to say that I don't want the money.
Well, you know, it's just we need to feel safe and to do our best work. You know, to really do our best work for others, we need to have a foundation underneath us. Or at least I do. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like probably most humans do. You know, need to have this some sort of, and maybe that shows up differently for a lot of people. For some people, maybe it's not money at all. You know, or that makes them feel safe. But for most people, because of the way our world is set up, I think it probably is. But do you mind if I feel like I have something for you on your marriage? You know, in your relationship, if you don't mind, if I share it with you.
Go for it.
Okay. You were talking about how when you got together with this person, everything fell away. Everything went away for you. And you've also been talking about how much you've been shedding over the last couple of years. Just really everything's just been falling away. I feel I got this immediate feeling of this person wrapping you up in a cocoon, uncomfortable as it may be, tight as it may be, this necessary cocoon where everything did have to fall away so that the really important stuff could fall away from you. You really could shed the stuff that really needed to be shed and you wouldn't have been able to give that the attention and the churning it needed if you had continued to have the clients and the events and stuff. So even though, and that's not to say that you should stay in a relationship like that, you know, but it had a really important purpose to serve. And like I was talking about my relationship that was so difficult, you know, a couple of years ago, only looking back now, can I say, ooh, that was the most valuable thing in my life, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, that was the pivotal piece. You may come around, you know, at some point and see, maybe you already do, how pivotal that marriage was for you. In setting you on your path.
Oh, yeah. Because it's interesting, right before when we were separated, I was told by another medium that I needed to go, a medium who had never heard of Shasta, by the way. She told me I had to go to Shasta, and I went to Shasta. She said I had to go do a cleansing there and to take Himalayan salt, blah, blah, blah. Well, I know what that meant. I was at the mouth, the head of the Sacramento River, sagrado, sacred, sacra, water.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the head of the river, and I was letting go. So I knew when I did that everything was going to go, and it's all purposeful. You know, I honor. It's funny because I was listening to you earlier, thinking I need to send her a message and say thank you. You know, my ex-partner, because I want to honor her. I don't want to dishonor her in what happened, because it just didn't happen. It was supposed to happen. The 2 or 3 years we spent together was about both of us moving forward. And that's it, and that's all.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that's medicine. You know, that's it.
Yes. And I really believe that some of our most powerful interactions, relationships, whatever form that they take, are so short-lived, because that transformation is intense, and you know, humans can only take that shit for so long, right? So it's like, it comes in, it happens very quickly, and then boom, it's gone, and you kind of go, whoa, all right, let's pick up the pieces here, or leave them, as the case may be.
Yeah, it's easy to blame, you know, somebody, but I think I knew because, you know, I just knew. And thank you for saying that, for saying what you needed to say. I'm never above, you know, hearing what other people have to say, you know, because what do I know?
Well, you know, Anthony, I really have a hard and fast rule. I really only share when I'm invited to share from Spirit.
Yeah.
I don't push my way in. I tried that a couple of times, didn't go so well when I first started. So I'm really conscious and careful, because, you know, if somebody is not in a, you know, doesn't want to hear from it, then I don't need to be sharing it if it's not a thing. So that's why I ask permission if something comes through really strongly like that. Just like, is it okay? You know?
Yeah.
So you're so welcome.
I appreciate it, and you know, like I said earlier, you know, I'm about the yes. As hard as it's going to be, as painful as something could be, as easy as something could be, I'm about the yes, because it's through the passing through of the whatever it is that you get to the other side.
Yes, absolutely.
It's that simple.
Yep. Yeah.
713-955-0332 is the call-in number. Call in and say hi to Ingrid. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know, you know, what you're having for lunch. Shoot, what do we care? You know, and, let us know what your full moon is like and what you're looking at, what kind of abundance you're looking at, you know. And, you know what? How's Joey? Joe.
Oh, he's great. He goes by Turner now.
Turner?
Yeah, he goes by Turner. He's good. You know, that was something that really shifted for us, too. He's been in public school all of his life, and he's been really, really unhappy, and it really hasn't been working for him. And I finally thought to myself, wait a minute, if I refuse to play in the system, why should I make my kid do it? So I pulled him out of school, and I've been homeschooling him and doing a really alternative schooling with him, and he's thriving and happy, and it's we're fumbling along and doing our best and learning. And I have, you know, his uncle is pitching in to help, and my mom pitches in to help, and my partner pitches in to help, just to show him things, what he's interested in and learning. And it's been a really fun experience going down that road with him. And, you know, he's going to be 12 in October.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, getting to be a big boy, getting to be a little snarky. He's very, very intelligent. And he likes to run circles around the adults in his life, which is kind of annoying. But since he can do it, what are you going to do? You know?
Right.
And he's, you know, he's doing really well and sort of living an interesting life, an interesting childhood. And I'm, you know, I always say to people, I crack a joke, I'm not saving for college. I'm starting a therapy fund for my kid. So, but it's been really fun because, you know, my partner who we live with has children. He has 5 children, and a couple of them are right around Turner's age. and they get along really, really well. So especially one of his daughters who's just right about his age, and she's a total bruiser. I mean, she's so cool. This girl plays tackle football, right? I mean, she's freaking awesome. And her and my son have developed a really close connection. So there's a lot of changes happening for him. You know, the last few years it have been really a lot of upheaval for both of us. We've moved a lot. You know, we went from the Hollywood area up to Northern California, and we've been bouncing around here quite a lot, and finally found ourselves something stable. And we're, you know, even, you know, we've been here almost a year, which is as long as we've been anywhere in like 2 or 3 years. You know, and so he's just finally settling into, okay, I think this is safe now. So it's been rough for him. You know, he's as I have gone through my awakening process and been in total chaos, because everybody who's been through it knows, I mean, your whole life falls apart. And it lasts for quite a while. So because he's the kid, you know, I've been dragging him through it. So it's been quite an experience, and he's still, you know, happy and optimistic, and he's just great. He's just fantastic. So that's how Joey's doing.
Cool. So cool. So you're in Nevada City?
Yeah.
Somewhere up north? I hear that's an amazing place, by the way. I hear there's a lot of.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. There's a large spiritual community here. There's a lot of spiritual activity and energetic activity. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to the validity of this, but I've heard a couple of people say that Edgar Cayce, you know, the sleeping prophet, said that Nevada City was sort of the energetic antenna for the world. Like, this was the place to be for the awakening of the world, or the, you know, catapulting of the world into the next dimension. I Googled that and I couldn't find anything on it. So, but I don't know about the validity. But, you know, people feel like this is a really sacred space, and a lot of people are really drawn here. You know, I grew up in this area, and it was very, very different when I was a kid. It was very rural, small town. And now, oh my God, it's packed. You know, it's like half the people I meet are from, you know, just got here a couple of years ago. So it's really different. But a lot of people are really drawn here. And, you know, of course, Anthony, if you can make it up here, you have a place to stay, you have a tour guide, we'll set something up with you, we'll get events running, we'll be great.
Well, getting back to the question you asked me about, you know, my abundance, one of the things that's happening with me is I'm doing a lot of traveling. LA has not been, people in LA want a quick fix and a quick pill. I am not the quick fix. I'm the person that's going to say to you, require you to do something, heal thyself, right? When they come see me. So, but one of the things that I'm doing is I'm traveling now, and I'm in San Diego on Saturday, and I'm in Palm Desert every other week. And I've been wanting, and I want to plan like a little bit of a tour and go to Nevada City. I want to go to San Francisco. I want to go to Santa Cruz. I want to go to Ashland, Oregon. I want to go to Vancouver, BC, British Columbia. I have clients and friends up there who said the same thing. You always have a place when you knock on my door. And it's like, it's time for me to leave the nest and carry the message in a broader sense. And I don't know what that looks like, but I know that Nevada City has always been a marker on my list, you know? And I think because I know so many people there, I mean, literally I have probably 20 people who are friends of mine on social media who are from Nevada City, in that area, that general vicinity. And it's like, wow, how does this happen?
I know. So, right. Yeah, it's a hub. It is a hub for sure. Yeah.
And, you know, and I feel the same way when people come to town. I would love to be able to set stuff up for people here, because I'm involved with a church called the Church of Truth, Center for Awakening Consciousness here in Pasadena. And they have opened their arms to me. I've already had several events there already, and it's just been amazing to be in a place that's accepting and supportive of the work that we do. You know, just amazing.
Yeah.
So,
So, oh, that's great. There's a place here called Inner Path. It's not a church, but it's a nonprofit organization, and they have a storefront, and they have rooms that they rent out for classes and events, and it's really become sort of the spiritual the venue in Nevada City for spiritual events, and that's the place where I keep seeing you put in there. I had to see you in that shop, so it would be great to have you up here and introduce you around and connect you in that way. Fun.
That'd be pretty cool. Pretty cool. Woo. So what do you have? What's the rest of the year looking like for you with regard to your work and working with others? I mean, are you doing events?
Well, I have huge things in the works right now, and I've talked a little bit about this, but I haven't had a big announcement about this, but I will tell you that I am starting a nonprofit religious organization. It's called Bava Spiritual Mission. And what the goal is to, it's set up as a church. You know, I'm not using the word church to describe it because that's kind of a trigger word for a lot of people. So the word that came to me was mission, and it's called Bava Spiritual Mission. And Bava, B-H-A-V-A, is Sanskrit for love without object, simply the feeling of love with no need to put it on an object. So that I have a page on my website that I've been working on to announce that. But the whole point of that is to teach people how to be channels for divine spirit. I'm a spiritual medium, right? So for me, that means that I use the modalities of psychic and mediumship to access the divine. But truly what I am is a conduit for divine spirit, for God, you know, for whatever box you want to put that in. So I teach people how to move themselves aside as much as possible and be as clear a spiritual channel as possible. And then I will ordain people as ministers so they can go out and start their own communities. You know, and it's really, that's what it's about, is just being as clear as possible. And I'll be, you know, kind of the first one, you know, and then that community will grow. So that's the big thing I've got on my plate right now. And I've just turned in my articles of incorporation. I'm getting it officially set up. I'm working on sort of all the bits and pieces, and I will be talking about that and sort of doing an official quote launch unquote to put my marketing hat on for a minute and bringing people into that. It's very open. Anybody is welcome. We're really the dogma of no dogma. Creation is big enough for all of it. And, you know, whatever resonates with you, you hang on to that and you swing on it. And if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. You get to discard it. It's totally okay. So it's not about teachers and gurus. It's about channels and learning to connect directly with the divine. We don't need people to do that for us. The age of the guru is ending. It's just ending now. So that's my big one.
It's funny you said that, because somebody asked me one day, Anthony, are you a guru? I said, no, I teach guruism. I said, I teach you to go from darkness to light, going from darkness of your thinking to the light of your soul, the light of your being, the light of who you are and who you were always meant to be. Aho. I said, that's my job. I am not a guru. I'm not a master. I called myself a master the other day because I'm a teacher, and that's there's people who come to me in that way. So I have to own a little bit of something, but I never, you know, make a claim to a title like guru, because I just don't believe myself to be that. You know, and I'm okay with it.
Right, and I feel like a guru, you know, that single figurehead has been very valuable for our world. Has been very valuable. I feel like the time is really coming to a close there, because we are coming to realize that we are our own guru, that we connect directly, that we pull ourselves up, you know, out of the ego, you know, and into the light. And it's always been us. The gurus have simply been a mirror for us. It's always been us. And now we get to sort of remove that mirror and say, okay, I know how to do this. And you're right. I also take on the teacher role, you know, because that's something natural that we do. But that's not really the same as being your teacher with a capital Y and a capital T. Do you see what I mean? Sort of the one and only. It's about you're here for a season. You know, how can I help you, and how can I get you to outgrow me?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How can I get you to outgrow me? That is setting aside of the ego in the most beautiful way. You know, what can I do for you? How can I help you? You know, and you know, and I don't know what people think of me when I actually say that, because I don't even know if they know that I mean it. You know, because, you know, most people don't. Most people are like, what can you do for me?
Yeah, right.
This is LA after all, you know, and it's really quite an interesting monster, you know, with people's egos, and, you know, setting aside your ego is at times a difficult thing to do. But I think
Very
that's
much
what
so.
the shedding of the feather, the molting of the feathers, the letting go of the horns, the letting go of the past, the old self, the old child, or this old childishness, if you will. I hope that's all about that. I think that's all about coming into a place of humility, where you can actually say, you know what, me too, you too, me too, and how can I help you? I think those words are so important. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And help to mirror that for somebody. What does that look like? What do you want it to look like? And ask them the questions. Right. Allow them to answer freely without shame, embarrassment, hurt, wound, damage. Because and judgment. There's always a lot of judgment from others when you want to do something, and a lot of times people don't speak what it is they want because of that. And I suffered through that on my own for a long time. But I had to make the sacrifice, and I had to step out of that suffering. I always tell people, I'm not Buddhist. I don't want to suffer. I don't have to suffer.
Yes.
Which is true and not true. But
exactly. I was going to say that's both true and not true.
Right. It's my funny way of saying, you know what? I don't have to put myself through stuff anymore. I don't have to do that. I can say yes to a new beginning, a new life, the life that I was always meant to have, a home. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did that come. Whew.
That's beautiful. Suffering is really interesting. We really do have a choice of whether we suffer or not. We absolutely have a choice. But suffering, humans, we're awfully complacent when we get comfortable. We're just kind of lazy. When things are comfortable, we don't do a whole lot. We don't do a whole lot of moving or expanding. And so the way that our inner being is calling, crying for expansion and movement back towards the divine. And suffering is how spirit prods us along. It's like a cattle prod, okay. It's really because we want it. We only suffer because we want it. And the easiest and quickest way for us to expand into our fullest nature, into our fullest selves, is through suffering. It's hands down the fastest way.
Yes.
So that's why we choose it. But we don't have to. We can totally do it differently. It makes me think of when I went into labor with my son. I had heard stories about labor's taking 24 hours, and I had been led to believe that my contractions would start sort of easy, 20, 30 minutes apart, and then sort of gradually become closer and closer together as the intensity built and it was closer and closer to the baby coming. Well, Anthony, my contractions started 2 to 5 minutes apart. I was, 21. And I'm going through this incredible physical pain. I was totally not going the way that I was told it was going to go. I called my doctor and said, I think I'm in labor. Well, you had a contraction while you've been on the phone with me? Yes. Well, I didn't hear you, so I don't think you're in labor, so don't come to the hospital. And I'm like, oh my God, this can't be right, So, and yet that my first birth was only 8 hours long. And that's because it started so intensely. It took a short 8 hours. That was very short for a first time birth. So that's why we have suffering. That's why life is suffering. That's what I believe. That's what Buddha means by that. By life is suffering.
Well, you know what? I wish we had another hour. We're coming to the last couple of minutes of the show, and I really, Ingrid, I want to say thank you to you and ask the listeners to come to my website, to the event page, and look you up on Facebook and look you up. Can you give your information so they can find you?
Yeah. Okay, so my website, which I'm really kind of proud of, I'd love it if you go look at it, is ingridhturner.com. Don't forget the H in there, like healer, ingridhturner.com. And then another place, a great place to find me, is if you join my Facebook group. It's called Living in Partnership with Spirit. So if you pop that into Facebook search, it'll come right up. Join that group because it's not just me there. It's 1,400, including Anthony, people, light workers, healers, seekers, people there connecting and communing. And it's a really amazing, really becoming such an amazing place. And I'd love to have you, if you're listening to the show, I'd love to have you join there and chime in with your wisdom and ask questions and lean on us for support, because everybody is there for each other. And then I also have a Facebook page. It's called Ingrid Turner Spiritual Medium. I think that's about it. Those are the main places that you can find me. Thank you.
Cool. This is Anthony Rodriguez, walking crow for the Transformational Sacred Drum Medicine, and you've been listening to Ingrid Turner, my beautiful special guest. And I want to remind you that next Tuesday, we will be experiencing Sarah Richardson, a holistic wellness coach from the Gulf Coast, and I can't wait to have her on the phone, on the show just like you. I'm so excited. Thank you, Ingrid, for joining us, and thank you, all the listeners, for being with us today. Once again, Anthony Rodriguez, walking crow for the Transformational Sacred Medicine Show, saying ahoy.
Thank you, Anthony. Such a pleasure to be on here with you. Thank you so much.
Yo, everybody get up! Everybody get up! Everybody needs to understand that I'm more than simply a hype man for this rap group, just like Geico is more than just a company that can save you money. Geico also has fast and friendly claim service, so they can help you when you need it most. And while I do love being a hype man, I also love reading for children's audiobooks. Like Little Bo Peep, she lost the sheep, and she don't know where to find them. Yo!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.